All right, guys, here we go. I had a client the other day ask me a question. I said if I could explain the differences between all the neighborhoods in Squamish. I explained to them that it required a phone call. So I thought, well, let's do a video, and that might explain to people a little bit about the areas so that other people can find out what they're looking for. So here we go. We'll start down in Valleycliff. Valleycliff is an area that is an up and coming area. It's very popular. Everybody that lives there loves living there. The key benefits of Valleycliff is that it is a closer proximity to Vancouver. So for those commuting, it's become very, very popular because the access to the highway is excellent and the availability of property is quite high. There's quite a few listings in Valleycliff, and there's often properties for sale there, which makes it easy to buy. The downside of Valleycliff is with it being so close to the Chief, it does experience a lot less sunlight in the winter than other areas in Squamish. And if you are in the sort of southeast side of Valleycliff, there tends to be a lot less sun. So keep in mind specific areas when you're there. But other than that, it's a wonderful, friendly neighborhood. People really enjoy living there, and it is a great place to be. Now, within Valleycliff, there's a couple of areas called Crumpet Woods and the Plateau. Those areas sit slightly higher than Valleycliff and don't suffer from the same lack of sunlight as Valleycliff in general does. And they tend to be a little bit preferred, and you do pay a premium for them. And Crumpet Woods, a high premium because it's a brand new subdivision with all modern homes in it. So you'll definitely pay a high premium there. Sitting above the plateau is an area called Hospital Hill. Now, Hospital Hill, there's only about, say, 100 homes in that area, and they don't come up for sale that frequently. They range from low end homes up to super high-end homes, and you find yourself in an area where you could be anywhere from, say, 800,000 for a really low-level sort of rancher-style home that's stuck between a laneway and a street. Or you could be on something that's 1.5 million with a view, nicely newer built, views of how sound and sun exposure. Now the problem with Hospital Hill, or the challenge there, is certain areas of Hospital Hill get stuck between a rock face and the train tracks. So what ends up happening there is you get quite a bit of reverberation from the trains as they roll through. In this part of town, you could have 6 to 8 trains per day, and when they blow their horns going through downtown, it can be quite loud up in Hospital Hill. So just something to keep in mind. That being said, super popular area, also very quick access to Vancouver, and that makes them very popular as well. As we move further north in Squamish, we enter into downtown area. The downtown area, again, is something that's dramatically changing. It has become very gentrified over time. There are a lot of new developments happening down there, and a lot of condos have come available there. We are concerned whether or not there's going to be a little bit too much development happening there and a little bit of a flooding in the marketplace there, and concerned over the new developments when they start having to complete, whether or not with the new interest rates it's going to require people to cancel or terminate their contracts, and whether there's going to be a flood of resale property hitting the market there. That being said, it's super quaint to be near downtown. You can get the coffee shops, and all the basic shopping you need is right there. Everything is walking distance. There's some great trails around the estuary. And yeah, it's a wonderful place to live. The further north you go in Squamish, there is a little bit more of a homeless situation there. So the further north you go, 7th, 6th Avenue, a little bit more of a challenge. But as you get further into downtown and into the actual complexes or new developments, super great living. So wonderful place to live, great for opportunities. Again, great access to the highway, whether you're going Whistler or Vancouver, quick access to the highway, which makes it a great place to be. From downtown, you enter into Dent Ville. Dent Ville is sort of around where the high school is, and just north of that. So everything between there and, say, the Tim Hortons or the industrial park, anything between that area is considered Dent Ville. And Dent Ville is undergoing a huge transition. It used to be one of the least desirable places to live for a period of time, but now it's become quite popular. It is out of the shadow of the Chief. As I mentioned, downtown, I didn't mention in downtown section, but downtown does have an area which can be quite shaded in the winter. But once you get into Dent Ville, you do get above that shadow of the chief. So quite a sunny area, a nice area. The stuff that's on the west side of it does have the train tracks right there, so it can be backing onto the train tracks, anything on Wilson Crescent there. As well as the further up you get, you're getting into some newer developments that are there. There's a whole bunch of development happening there. New homes being built there, and some old homes there as well. A lot of the areas are zoned for duplex development, so if you're looking for something to build, there is the opportunity there as well. Once we get through that, we get into the industrial park, and then above and beyond that is an area called North Yards. Now, North Yards is a smaller section of town, and it sort of ranges from the top of the industrial park, and then it goes straight through on Government Road. It winds through until you get to about the crossing of the river. Now, that whole area used to be homes with larger lots. It has since become an area of large development. Target has done a development there. There are a couple of developments that have been done in the past. Lots of townhouses, and the opportunity to buy new or buy slightly new or even older is great. The train tracks do run along the north edge of that area, so there is a little bit of shunting, hence the name North Yards. You are right in where the train station is, so there's a little bit of shunting that happens there. People that live there will tell you it really doesn't matter. After a couple of weeks you tend to get used to it, so it's not really a big deal. There are some homes there still with larger lots, older homes with larger lots. They're likely going to be picked up by developers and likely wouldn't be worth it for somebody to buy as an individual residence. But what you'll find is the majority of that stuff is going to be developed, and down the road it'll be all condos and all townhouses in that area, with a few homes on the likes of Edgewater Crescent. So that's pretty much that area. Then you enter into the estates when you get further north. You are just crossing past the water treatment plant, the Shannon Estates townhouse development, and then across the other side of the highway are some Veteran Land Act, houses on the Veteran Land Act lots. And those were lots that were purchased by the veterans when they came back. They ranged from 3/4 of an acre up to an acre, and were subsequently subdivided and sold off quite often to their sons or daughters, who subsequently built homes in the 80s. So what you find there is every other lot is a large lot, usually close to half an acre or a third of an acre. So the lots are quite large on those streets in there. And then you've got Cheakamus Way, which are then some smaller lots in that area around Cheakamus, which backs onto Park. It's very nice. This is sort of deemed to be one of the nicest areas in Squamish to live because you're down on the lowlands, you're in the flats, so you're walking distance to a lot of amenities. You also get a ton of sunshine. You're not blocked out by a lot of trees, although there is enough trees to make it seem like a well-established area, but you still get a ton of sunshine, and perhaps that's because of the large lots as well. You're also not backing onto the Tantalus mountain range, which is where Brackendale loses some of its sun in the evening, and you're far enough away from the Highlands and the ridges around the Highlands to allow for sunshine. I suppose the detriment that people will have there is that the ground is pretty soft. It used to be a riverbed, so there can be concerns over potential flooding or settling. A lot of the older homes there have settled quite a bit, so you just need to be aware of that when you're buying, and make sure the home isn't going to settle anymore. Around that area on the other side of the highway where we started at Shannon Estates, there are several townhouse developments there. They range in prices, they range in quality of finishing as well. So you can get quite a diverse area of properties there. And then on the other side of the tracks, go figure, is an area called Amble Path. Amble Path is an area of smaller homes that tend to be priced just slightly above the higher end duplexes and townhomes in Squamish. They're smaller homes on smaller lots. It is stratified, but there is opportunity in there to get a single family detached home for sort of the price of a duplex in Squamish. So from there, we'll head out into Brackendale. We go out into Brackendale over the train tracks. Once you cross the tracks, you're essentially in Brackendale. Brackendale's a wonderful community. It's, there's the above ground. It's more rural. So there's the above ground hydro wires, things like that make it feel more rural. That's where you'll also find the horse farms that are out there. You'll also find a few areas where livestock is kept, and it's a very rural, community-oriented feeling out there. Really nice place to live. and great sunshine. So in the morning they get a ton of sun, but as the sun does set, the further west you go, you get closer to a ridge of mountains there. And as the sun sets, it sets very, very early in the evening, specifically in the summertime. And obviously you lose it in the winter as well. But the evening or late afternoon sunshine is non-existent basically in Brackendale in that side. They range from townhouses to houses in that area, some newer, some older. Primarily it's older homes. There are a few small pockets of newer homes in that area. And yeah, people often talk about the biggest concern of flooding there. Of course, if the Cheakamus River ever did sort of explode and release, it could cause some substantial flooding in Squamish. But if it ever went in Brackendale, if there's flooding in Brackendale, it's likely going to happen downtown and in the estates and in Dent Ville. It's likely going to happen everywhere. It is on the floodplain. So that's probably the biggest detriment. The biggest asset that Brackendale has is its community, as well as its proximity and access to Whistler. So if you're looking for a place that's giving easy access to Whistler, you can just head down Depot Road, turn left, you're on the highway, and up you go. So that's pretty much Brackendale in a nutshell. When we go back down the road into the estates, we can then head up into the Highlands. Now, the Highlands also has the drawback being that whenever you're up there, there are no amenities in the Highlands. So whether you're looking for a newer high-end home or whether you're looking for an older home that you can fix up, you pretty much have to understand that if you forget your milk one night, you've got to drive down and get it. There's no other way to go there. You can't walk to the grocery store. Well, you can, but it's quite a hike to walk back up with your groceries on your way back. Milk can be quite heavy coming up that hill. So keep that in mind. The thing with the Highlands as well is that there's a lot of pockets where there is not a lot of sunshine, and there's a lot of pockets where there's tremendous sunshine. So you have to be very selective in the Highlands as to where the best area is for you based on your preferences to move. Homes in the Highlands range from the brand new, which are in the around the university area, to older homes, to some very old homes that are down in the bottom by Air and Skyline, which was some of the earlier development in Squamish. There are view homes up there that have spectacular views of House Sound, the Tantalus Mountain Range, Sky Pilot, a few other areas like that. And there are homes that are tucked away, that are secluded and private and quiet. Nice family living, but as I mentioned, the downfall is you always have to go down the hill if you're going to get anything. So that's those areas. There's one more area that I didn't describe very well, and that's Brennan Park. Around Brennan Park, there's been a new townhouse development, and there is a new apartment townhouse development happening in that area. So it's right off the Brennan Park Arena. They are calling it the Brennan Road area, but it's not near Brennan Road. It's kind of confusing. Brennan Road is actually in Brackendale, but Brennan refers to the Brennan Park Recreation Center, which leads to this development. There's a Raven Woods that's in there. Now that's a newer, smaller homes on smaller lots, a little bit larger than Amble Path, but still slightly smaller homes. Quite nice, a nice area. I have a few clients that live there, and they love living there. Access to the highway for both ways to Whistler and Vancouver is excellent. Proximity to the rec center and the trails is excellent. I guess the only downside would be the fact that it's a newer development. There's not a lot of old growth around there. So once you get into the development, it's quite tight. So keep that in mind when you're looking. Hopefully that explains all the areas in Squamish. By all means, if you ever have any questions about the areas or anything else in Squamish, feel free to give me a call, 604-892-8155. All the best and take care.